Well, welcome, and I am your host, and my name is Britton. Today, I just wanted to get on here before we start our conversation and let you know that I am not a psychologist or a psychiatrist. I speak to people that are in those professions, and this channel is for information only. Hopefully, it's good information that you can apply to your life. So, as I speak to those guests, and if you feel like you want to support any of those, some of them are authors, blogs, mental health advocates. They have foundations, not-for-profits. If you want to support those people, I'll put the links in the description below. Also, if you'd like to support the Suicide Monk podcast and help keep this moving forward, I'll put that GoFundMe in the link below. I'll put the link down there for the Ashes to Life coaching as well. And don't forget to like and subscribe. It helps us keep moving forward. And any prayers, lifting up, good vibes, we will take them. Thanks a lot. Again, we'll see you on the good side. Well, welcome to the Suicide Monk, and I am your host, and my name is Britton. Today we're talking to Thomas LaGrave Jr., and he is an author. He was a hospital corpsman for working closely with the Navy SEALs and a lot of the other branches in the special forces and stuff like that, from my understanding, in close proximity with those ladies and gentlemen. And you have a book out, Special Welfare, Social Warfare, and fascinating. I read some of what I could, and really well written, really well written. It was enjoyable to read what I did. So, yeah. How are you today, buddy?
I'm excellent. The utilization of the word suicide, that's awesome. I've shared, I'm a therapist, and the one thing that is what is the most important thing that I can ever do for a human being is see it, capture it, acknowledge it, bring it out, remove the stigma. Because the fact of the matter is, if we don't do any of those things, somebody dies, and a whole trail behind them dies too. And that's family members and friends and all of that. And to be so forward with it, I'm looking forward to this. So thank you.
Well, no, it's a pleasure to have you here. I read, the things that I could about you, and just a fascinating. I'm excited to hear what you have, and you started this journey at a very young age, and going into the military and going through all that. And did you go through buds?
Yeah.
Did you really? Wow. Oh man. So you went through the whole gamut. Yeah. So you're a SEAL.
Yes.
Okay. Oh, okay. Wow.
So
there you go.
Yeah, again, we will spin this around to share a story to help others understand. And I'm really transparent with my story because it's my story and I'm not hiding from it.
Right.
So,
well, let's hear it. Let's run back. How was you had mentioned something in your book that you had an example of being cared for, nurtured, loved.
yeah.
And that really kind of led your way and led your path. Can you talk to me about that? How that, because it's interesting. I know some SEALs, I know some Delta Force guys, and it's a different story. A lot of these guys come from trauma,
Yeah.
and then go right into trauma, and it's a double whammy. So can you kind of walk us through that and how that?
Yeah, because the first piece that has to be understood is I'm a recovering addict alcoholic. And the fact of the matter is 9 years into my military career as a Navy SEAL, I was discharged from SEAL Team 1 for drug use. And I've been asked, was it because of the job? And the answer is no. I started when I was 14 years old. And at that moment, it was experimentation. But for me, that experimentation went quickly to addiction, but I didn't know it. So I took that with me from 14 to being thrown out of my father's house at 18 because I was getting high, and he wasn't going to have that because I had younger brothers, and that was not going to be tolerated. And this was in 1979, which is an era where Vietnam had just ended in 1975, and nobody wanted to go in the military. So when I walked into the recruiter's office, he said, "Sit down. What do you want?" And I got everything that I wanted. And what I did want was to get out of my father's house, to get out of town, get in the military, and I wanted to be a hospital corpsman. And that's how I saw it. Third week into boot camp, turns out you can take a screening test to become a Navy SEAL, which at that time, I had no idea what a Navy SEAL was. To me, I'm from the Bay Area, San Francisco Zoo, they have seals. And for 25 cents, you can buy a bag of anchovies and feed the seals. So when they said you're going to be a SEAL, that's the picture I put in my mind was what is that?
Yeah, that's fair.
Well, the bottom line is, wow. So in the end, this is how I see it. I don't know that anyone else is going to agree with me, but the fact of the matter is, I do not believe that you make Navy SEALs. We are born and given the opportunity for us to go to BUDS. That's a very narrow line. And as you have shared, I ended up, what was it? Probably in 2010, 2009, I became a government contractor working with the military because the military was finally seeing they were having huge issues with the war. The families were taking it, and the suicide was a problem, huge. And so they hired a bunch of therapists, which at that time, I'm a licensed clinical social worker. I put in for it, and I was given the opportunity to travel around the world and work with active duty military and their families wherever you find them in the anywhere in the world. So within like 2 years of doing that, the last people that wanted the what was called the military family life consultant, the last people wanted that was SOCOM, and that's Special Operations Command. But they had been watching to see how effective it was, and they're like, okay, we'll let them come in. So the guy that was running the whole program, he was a Vietnam era. What was it? He was a Vietnam era Ranger, so he knew the world, and he heard my story somewhere in the first 2 years. I'm just going anywhere they send me, and then SOCOM opens up, and he grabs me and sends me in, and I start working with all the special forces, and that gave me a huge insight as to I thought everyone was kind of like SEALs. No. You know what? No. There are vast differences between an Air Force Special Forces to an Army to a Marine Corps to the Navy. And all of that comes to that was an education that I was given to be able to like say, wow. So now that's kind of the loop of the last 20 years. But you asked about that compassion and that understanding. And when I got discharged, I was devastated. You know what?
Yeah.
I didn't. I didn't leave the Navy SEALs. I was discharged for drug use, and on top of that, it was my identity. I didn't know how to be. I didn't know how to be anything else but. And at that time, the addiction was horrible. I was literally, you know what, coming apart at the seams. So I get discharged. I go back home to my father's house that threw me out 10 years earlier. And he says, "Oh, so you're back again. And we still got the same problem." "All right, Pops, I love you too." Fact of the matter is, he said, "You can come home, but you go and take care of that issue." And I was like, at that point, okay. So 4 months later, I'm in 4 months later, I'm in an adult recovery facility for 90 days. And in that time, I figured out how to break the physical addiction, but I had no clue as to how to live life. So it was coming up on a year, and it was not looking good. And I was not fit. I was feeling as though I'm going to use again when I decided I need to put myself in an environment. And through that short period of time of my recovery, they kept saying, your issues, whatever they are, and how you see things happened in your youth. Well, the military shut the emotions off. Drugs and alcohol shut the emotions off. I had no clue as to what my childhood was. So I decided to take a job as an overnight counselor at an adolescent recovery facility for youth that were 13 to 17-year olds, all court appointed, being sent there by a judge because they're using drugs. And I, into that environment, go to start watching them. I wasn't going there to help them, I was going there to figure out my life. And it turns out that it flip flopped. I was not only able to see how to live life because of how they taught me, but I also saw that there was a gift that I had, a talent that young people would tell me their demons, their dark secrets, the suicide. People, youth would tell me because they trusted me. And in that, I was like flabbergasted and forever grateful, which led to the next piece of um, I went back to school and I got a bachelor's and I got a master's. I got board certified. I'm licensed clinical. I got all those things because it's cool, but I got them because I was seeing young folks come to me saying they had this problem and I didn't have an answer. And that's not acceptable for somebody that gave me my life back. So
Right.
back to academia I go. And within 10 years, I got all the bells and whistles, and it was really important for me to start learning how to understand the dynamics of our young people. And mine specifically is from adolescence to adulthood, that 18, 19, 20-year old age, of how we get them. And the book ended up being the story of what I had in my youth and what I'm looking at and have been doing for the last 40 years, working with several generations, and what is no longer there. So how's that for a roundabout crazy way of sharing a story?
Yeah. Wow. So in the youth part really, for lack of better terms, intrigues me,
Yeah.
interests me. Um, because of my own path and the things that I've gone through, um, and that's where it starts. And if we can catch it early, we can lead these kids out of that.
I feel that. I agree.
So how do you do that with young people are very difficult because especially at that age they think they know a lot and they think they know most things, but they're also very broken in a
Yep.
large way, and that's where the trust and um, that sense of integrity comes from when they approach you.
Yeah.
Um, what are some of those methods or some of those mod- modalities
Yeah.
that you use to guide them?
So the first 4 years was the adolescent recovery facility. That was just trying to figure out my life, finding that I had a gift, and seeing that because I didn't have the education, I was not going to be given a caseload. So I moved on, and the next job was I was an I was what is it, Boys and Girls Club, a unit director. I was given a unit in a, it was called South San Francisco, and it was in a place called Paradise Valley, which was the Latino part of town. And so I go in there and I started with 59 kids. And 4 years later, when I left, I had 440 kids because I listened to how they wanted me to be with them. If I was going to be that guide and that advocate, I had to do it their way, not my way. And that was the education that came from there, to understand how you earn trust.
Yep. It's learning how to walk with people in the darkest parts of who they are. And it's what I've learned is I don't have to carry that, but I can feel that with them. I can walk with them. I can understand it. I don't even necessarily have to change it,
No,
but just listening and letting somebody release that pressure and then guiding them through that little bit of that darkness with experience, it goes so far. Like it
no.
brings them so far out of the woods.
And
So
the part is that In that time frame, there was I have today, um, he's a district attorney. He's 40 years old. I got him when he was 12. Yeah, and he was this little insane kid. And so that was his arc. But I also went to San Quentin to see another kid that I had that's going to be there for the rest of his life. So it isn't about saving anybody. It's about being there in the moment and giving them the opportunity to have a choice,
Right.
because that path is really, especially between 18, 19, and 20. You know what? You make the mistake then and you're going to pay for it the rest of your life. Yeah. And
Well,
so
that's very true.
that's where I learned how to listen and to be able to hold them accountable, because they want to be held accountable, but they want to be held accountable the right way.
Well,
Their
that's what I was going to ask you. How do you do that? Because a lot of times you hear people telling people what to do. So it's how do you hold a young person like that accountable?
Again, I still volunteer all over the place. I'm at that time in my life where it's coming to the end of closure, where I have to work for the rest of my life. I will work, but I choose how that happens. And so, with that, the earliest time that you meet with a new group that you go into, it's all about um, being quiet and showing up. I learned from the Boys and Girls Club that if I said I was going to be there at 2 o'clock in the afternoon on a Saturday, at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, I got to be there. If I tell the kid, you guys come down here and we'll go do this, whatever time you told them, you better be there. Do not, you are not allowed to make a mistake ever, because you'll lose them. And, perfect, we can't get perfect, but that's what you're aiming for. And your reputation precedes you, because I have those youth telling other youth what I have been to them, which doesn't give me the in to them, but it gives me the opportunity to get in. I started the same way. I said, look, don't trust me. I'm not asking you for, I'm not asking you to trust me. I'm asking for the opportunity to earn your trust. Bam.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the thing with, especially with, we'll just say broken youth.
Yeah.
They, and this is the same thing with me, even in my adulthood today, is trust is very difficult. And I find that that's where all my judgments come from as well for society. And those are the things that are old responses to um, protective walls as a youth. And so I love how you're navigating this, because it's a lot of people don't understand, especially families, how to
Yeah.
walk
Oh,
with
yeah.
their kids. It's very difficult to walk with the abruption of two parents that made one child. So,
Yeah. That's,
there's two personalities mixed, and
and the thing with it is the book, the program, the solution I came up with is dealing with ages 18, 19, and 20, because at 17, mom and dad are still a part of the equation, as they should be, as they need to be respected regardless. But I can't do what I am capable of doing unless you are not in the picture. And you will always get the phone call, that you will always get to
yeah,
check in. You will always have access to your kids. But the bottom line is, you will call before you come, because you're not walking in on me, period. And then 21, I had to choose the ages that I can be effective. At 21, you're on your way, for better or worse. I wish you the best of luck. I can still be effective with that group, but it's different from 18, 19, and 20. That's the rite of passage. That's that period in time that is ancient, that we have been doing since the millennia, as to how, when we were hunter gatherers, how did the little boy become the man? And they weren't told what to do. They were shown. You were taken from mom, and that was removed. And now you are with the men. And understand this: you can die in that time frame with having to learn what it is to survive in the wild. We're not looking so much to say that, but it still needs to have that kind of play. I
Right.
need those youth to know that something is powerful being offered and something is not going to be handed to me. And if I get it, it's not only mine, it's something that I can take with me and become more.
Right. Yeah, that mentality, even the hunter gatherer in our society, is just an evolution of that.
Yeah.
We still need to have that formidability and strength and capability to navigate the difficulties of this world, and that's where we lack in community. I think we don't have that structure that we used to form those bonds and teach the kids what they need to learn, and we've relied on other people to do that in hopes that our kids will grow up okay. And it's like, no, you got we, and I failed in that. A lot of people do, and it's just a matter of we need to rethink the way we approach our children now, because I mean, you got 1 in 3 girls exposed to pornography or molested, 1 in 4 boys, and then you got at the rate, and even in the military, you're 22 to 26 or something like that a day enlisted, and 24 a day veteran that are committing suicide. And
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, it's exponential, and it's because of these things that we're not taking care of it at the core level, and we're not being responsible as parents to raise our kids in a way that money is just one thing in the balance of life, in the balance of everything that we have. And that's what I think we've gotten out of balance with, that because of the capitalist mindset, and then it's a scarcity mindset on top of that.
Uh, so the book is that story right there.
Really?
How did that transition like that? Because the fact of the matter is, um, in our house, uh, I I I was 14 when I started, so my middle brother was 11 and my youngest brother was 6. And so what we were is first generation latchkey. Mom and dad both had to go to work because there was when I was like 6, 7, 8, dad worked, mom stayed home with the kids. And realistically, the money is still here that could allow for that, but it's being maneuvered in places that I am not going to fight that fight. But I told that story. You know what? It says special welfare, social warfare. Adolescence to adulthood is the back of it, but the front end is if we don't figure out the money in the welfare, social warfare is what's coming. And that is,
Oh, we're on the brink.
and my military career told me and showed me what war looks like. I was groomed for a very specific reason in a very specific way. And it scares the shit out of me that a society is being moved in that direction. And not, grandparents, parents, and kids are not prepared for what's coming.
Right. Yeah.
So there is now wonderful that I get to have a conversation. That's
Yeah. It is cool. I mean, and this is the thing we're on the cusp of, but we're also on the brink of these things collapsing. So who gets to cross the bridge first is really what's going to happen. But I am seeing more and more people um, becoming more aware of the mental health issues in their own lives, and transferring that pain into that suffering into purpose. And it's I think we're at the beginning of a wildfire of that. And you're seeing some people really awaken up to spirituality in so many different ways, and really spreading this throughout the globe, which is the one of the advantages of the internet and social media. The downside is when you have something like this, you're looking for trolls.
yeah,
So
yeah,
the people that are miserable behind their computer. And um so our society, and then we add our food into that, and the chemical imbalance in that thing that they've really done to America. And now, again, with social media, we've learned about other countries that don't have these problems, that don't have these health problems. I think we're the most obese country in the world. I think we're up there. And that's sad because that's not what this country was ever built on or about. Ever.
No,
It was about
we were
taking care of its
pioneers.
people.
You know, we
Yeah.
were, yeah, we were, yes, we were. We still
Yeah.
are.
Yeah. And it's, sometimes we got to have a fire to rebuild the forest, and things need to be rebuilt. And so we may dip.
Yeah,
And
but the problem is it's now it's biological and it's nuclear, and those mistakes can't be fixed like once before we could in that
right.
suggestion. And that's what is the scariest part. And right now it comes down to there's still hope. I refuse to believe that there isn't answers and that there isn't a way. I I found myself at the best time in my life. I'm done with my work time. I went and got all the. I worked in prisons. I worked child protective services. I worked with the military. I've worked with what is it, counties, state, federal, all of. I'm a social worker first and foremost. So homelessness and drug addiction. There's answers, but nobody's going to like how we're going to have to go after that.
Right.
And I don't care anymore because I'm at that stage in my life where hurt me, please.
Yep.
I was given at the age of 29 a broken man that once was an operating Navy SEAL who was crushed and discarded by the military because they needed to, and found myself in a trash heap with a father who said, I'll give you a semblance of hope, but you got to make it work. Go get help. And because I did, I found my sobriety, and then I found a gift. And that gift has propelled me to today where, you know what? I'm going to work 2 days a week for the rest of my life, helping people and charging you. I work the other 4 days for free with those who need me the most. And that can be addressed if I, if say the book, the Honor Bound Academy was the rite of passage that I created. And I spent 10 years trying to get funded. I couldn't get the funding. So I said, I can't lose this knowledge, this insight. I paid too much, and it's my love and my creation. So I wrote a book and put it in there for those who might have the financial wherewithal. And if I'm still alive, bring me on. I'll tell you how I would do this. But if you can't, if it won't, there are other thoughts of how we got here, what's really going on here. And if you really want to change it, understand that the powers to be are not going to let us just simply do this. Be prepared. Right. I'm at the end of my life where, you know what, shoot me. Our kids are worth it. And when I say shoot me, yeah, I've been there and done that. I'm saying that in that mindset that if we really want to help our kids, that's the mindset, because where we're going to go to help them.
Yep. And you see more and more people starting to wake up to this and that's why I think I'm moving kind of, it's been on my plate, or at least in my scope. I have some barriers I have to climb in that, but um, I believe this is where I've always shown, like, I did youth groups. I did 3 different youth groups, and really wore myself out because I didn't have proper knowledge.
Yeah.
But yeah, they came to me on a natural, and they're still my friends today, like 20 years later, 25 years later.
Isn't
And
that cool?
oh, it's great. It's neat
Yeah.
to watch them grow up and have careers and wives and kids and be part of that. And then, you had an influence in their life and you watched them move in different directions. And some of these kids were on drugs and you just love them and nobody else knew. And it's like, and they wake up and they own their own businesses and they're it's like, it's amazing just to, to understand the youth where they're at and let them be who they are. And encourage them when they screw up to say, hey, you can't do that. Well, you can't steal from a store. It's not, you're going to get pinched, and
There's another piece to that too, though, is failure. This sitting here, this is a product of my failures. This isn't success. What the hell did I learn from success? I got lucky. Um, from failure, I saw where I could make improvements to get better because something I was missing something is why I lost.
how did you
Okay.
make that shift? When you
Again,
lost in the military, how did you
yeah.
make that shift?
The kids, I can't, I didn't quit at Buds. That bell's in the corner. Easiest thing you can do there is quit.
Mhm.
I wasn't going to quit. I had a relapse. I had 32 years clean and sober, and I relapsed. I went out for 3 weeks, and first time in my entire life that I was suicidal. I had never truly grasped what that meant, even though I'd been a counselor for years. So, and that was what, 5 years ago. So the last 5 years, I have reestablished this in a way that could function the rest of the time. I had gotten sloppy. I had made mistakes. I had not done what I was supposed to be doing. Bam, I took a hit. But at this stage right now, there is there is nothing I won't do for our youth. And I got a skill set that is one of a kind that I'm not charging them for. I'll bring this online and I can navigate it. And what is it when we scale it up? I could scale it up to the whole country. I've lived in enough places in the United States. I know what it is to be in the Bible Belt. I know what it is to be the inland, what is it, Northwest, the desert Southeast, the midsection. I've lived in all those places. I've been respectful to people there. They're kind, compassionate people. They're just different. And the one
Yeah.
thing that we have in common is we all got kids.
I mean, that's the beauty of it. I think passion drives, it will come. It may not come at the time that we want it, but passion, that's what I'm looking at with even this. I was going to start like trying to raise money and do all this. And I'm like, I'll do the work. The money will come. It may not be when I think it should, but there will be people that recognize this and see the value of it and say, "Hey," and I don't want to exploit this.
No.
This is a very vulnerable place that requires integrity. It requires care and soft step, and that's where I'm like, okay. And I've got people telling me this. They're like, "You need to have integrity." I'm like, okay, I get that. Yeah, okay. So,
Absolutely.
and then
Yeah.
humility. Okay, how do I keep those things once I understand them? I'm in the process of understanding them. And that's
Yeah.
where I think the money will follow once I understand how to navigate that.
You're so on target with that because the fact of the matter is the spiritual, I've gone down another rabbit hole on that one. I'm dressed for the civilian world. I'm not even, I will take the kids that want to go down that kind of rabbit hole, and that's the one of integrity. It's the one that is like magical, mystical. All those schools of ancient, they're still here, and I have sought them out. But to the normal folks that don't want to hear about that lunatic stuff, you know what? I do cognitive behavioral and I have a specialty with eye movement desensitization reprocesses. I am a clinician that does you know,
EMDR.
EMDR, and I went back to school for that. I got the
Nice.
certification for that. I volunteered with first responders for almost 2 years, twice a month to figure out how to be effective with that tool because it's not easy and it's powerful. And if you get that right, whoa, you're effective to, I was using first responders at that time, the police, sheriffs,
Yeah.
Cal Fire, all those first responders that are being overwhelmed right now. I have the skill set to address their need if that's where we go. Because I just needed to I saw looking forward what tools I needed when I was 29, because they were the kinds of tools that I was given as a Navy SEAL. As a corpsman, I was sent to school after school after school. I learned how to do all of that to be an online medic that could literally do surgery if need be. So that it was, again, once that was gone and once that was lost, I needed a replacement. And it was personal that I wasn't going to quit and become a Navy SEAL because I knew I wanted that. This other one, those youth gave me my life back. They're the driving factor. I'm no longer, I don't want it for me. I already got mine. I want it for our youth. And when our youth see me giving that with with being on time, showing up when I said I'm saying, and literally having some serious mojo, that's when I earn my trust. And I'm willing to work however long that takes with these youth today. So game on.
Right. No, I love that. And it's really about, and this was my thought. I don't know if this is true or not, but I always wanted to speak to the masses to find the one.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
and
nice.
yeah, and I thought I was going to do it as a Christian pastor,
Yeah.
uh, pastoral. They don't want my mouth on stage. Trust me. Trust me. Um, but I do have a belief system in this, and it's really valuable to me. But I also find myself in a severe, and I just realized this. I'm in a severe existential crisis, and I have been since I was a kid. I realized this today.
Wow.
Like, yeah,
So you have a demon from an ancient demon.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Wow.
yeah. But speaking of ancient demons, I've I fought pretty hard, pretty well through the years. I've lost a lot. I lost everything due to rage. I say I fought pretty well because I'm still alive. That's I was at the end of my rope, but I did a psilocybin treatment.
Nice.
About last June,
Yeah.
last June, and what that did was it tore down all the walls that I had built as a kid that I was still using as defense mechanisms as an adult. And now I get to rewrite the story, or I get to rewrite, number one, the narrative to my old past, and I get to rewrite the story to my present and future. Yeah, I never understood, and have never understood why people want to live, never, until 8 months and 10 months ago, whatever it was, and never had purpose, never had passion, never had desire. Even doing this, I was in the process of taking my life and trying to raise money to help people get therapy because I was too far gone. I'd lost everything. And and I had a convincing story. People couldn't argue with it. And then those that tore down the walls. And some of those things that's why I realized today I'm in that existential crisis. And I've been in it all my life because it always worked for everybody else, but never for me. And that is part of my next part of my journey. But these things have to be asked in order to deal with them and, face them. If we don't ask the question, we can never face our problems.
You made the point. In the state of California, Board of Behavioral Sciences, I'm sanctioned to be able to be a therapist that charges for the session. I'm also an expert witness to go on the stand in a court of law. But the fact of the matter is that I can't touch the psilocybin. And I, as a veteran, am hoping that the VA finally is grasping that. I am a member
I think
of
they are.
MAPS. That's the
Okay. Yep.
Multidisciplinary Association of Psychedelics, MAPS, whatever the S stands for. I watch that very closely because I now have clinicians that can actually practice with that. That they're willing to do that. I'm not willing to give up. I'm not. But if they legalize it, I've already got my membership in, and I have seen the power. The ibogaine,
Yep.
there's the psilocybin, the
Yep.
MDMA. I still got issues with ketamine, but you know what? That's somebody else's to argue, not mine. And
Yeah, I think they're starting to discover there's not, I don't think they have enough uh,
yeah,
research on ketamine as opposed to those other drugs that are actually really effective, like psilocybin. One treatment and I'm still moving forward. And although I've had some rough days, I've been able to navigate those days and say, why is anger the first response? Why is suicide the second response? Why that should not be that response? Why? And that's when I realized my body's holding on. It's responding before my brain is. And that's when I was like, okay, so I need to start picking this apart. And that's why I did. Now I'm peeling all the layers back to rid myself, or put the past to rest, I should say, not rid myself of it, because it taught me a very valuable thing, and I
It's who
am
you
who I
are.
am. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. So
No.
yeah, a lot of great things came out of it, and the journey that I've been on. I wouldn't recommend it because I leaned over the edge. You
Yeah.
know, I was for sure it wasn't going to work. I mean, I was 99% positive it wasn't going to work. And I had no reference point to say I was a good person. Like, I had
Yeah.
nothing.
Yeah.
And
That's the
so I
tough.
was 99% sure I was going to go take my life in 2 days, and it
Yeah.
worked. I'm still here.
Yeah.
And that's the power of it. And if you do the post work, it's not a fix all, but it will tear down the walls for you to be able to move forward. And it's not for everybody. I don't,
No.
it shouldn't be for everybody, but it was my Hail Mary.
And the fact of the matter is that it reveals it at
Mm,
layers.
yeah.
So, that I'm glad that you got the initial, because now you can't deny what happened.
Right.
You made it happen, and it happened with you and for you. And
Yeah.
now you have a son. This is my belief. What I internalize is what the universe can use me with
Mhm.
for too. So my belief systems are, when it comes to emotions, it's like feelings are to the soul what food is to the body. Men who won't do the masculine thing is like, all right, tough dude, knock yourself out. But your little daughter and your little son are going to pay the price because you're a manly man. Our kids, they don't want us to tell them. They want us to show them. They're watching. And if you do everything with your voice and with your meanness and with all of that, that's what you're teaching your kids. That's what they're learning.
Yeah.
And so,
And then, yeah, the observation of the outside world is where they get the rest of the education.
yeah,
And that's where all those judgments are solidified
yep,
from the home.
yep. So we're still here. And you know what? Um, it's dark. I see it. I sense it. I feel it. But I also know that the last thing that anyone should ever do is go to war, because on any given
Yeah.
day, the best, the boldest, the brightest can be beat.
Yep.
So I suggest be very careful going there. And if we do, then I got a skill set that I can offer youth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you do any like outdoor programs with them? Teach them skills?
At this stage, that was like the from 29 to 39 in that area.
Oh, okay.
At this stage, I just finished working in a brick and mortar. It was a community health center. I was dealing with the homeless,
Okay.
which were drug addicted. And
Yep.
then, they got the mental health. And do you treat the mental health first or the addiction first? And so now I've left all of that. And on Tuesdays and Thursdays, I have a private practice with the litany of I got a 17-year-old and I got a 46-year-old and everything in between, male and female. So this is where I am waiting for. I'm putting myself out to the universe and waiting for the universe to use me. And
Yep.
in the meantime, I work 2 days a week and volunteer 5 days a week, waiting for the crossroads. Because that's my belief system from way back when, that if I become something that others want to be with, others will come and I'll
Yep.
get to be with them.
Yep. Yeah, for sure. I believe that. Um,
29 to 39, I was outdoors that way. And then that time frame. But right now, I am just logic and cognitive behavioral with some EMDR and waiting for I'm not gonna have to wait much longer. Something's coming, so I'm not.
Yeah. Yeah. I
And when
mean,
it does, I am going to be like standing there yelling for all the youth to say, "Hey, give me a chance to earn your trust, because there's answers out here."
well, I think what I've discovered, and this is my own experience because I grew up not trusting anybody, and those were my defense mechanisms. And even still, I tend to, now it's kind of flipped. I give too much of it. So there's an imbalance of it, but maybe that's also learning how to deal with rejection in a proper way. So there is that in that. But I grew up with a lot of mistrust. So, and I never understood why people were drawn to tell me their problems immediately, like within minutes. And I think there was always this sense of honesty and some sense of integrity, even though I may not have lived that in certain areas of my life. There was when it came to people, and they knew that, and I think that's grown, which is great. I mean, that's just, it's not something I asked for. It's just how the cards fell on that. But it's yeah, those are beautiful gifts to be able to give back. And I heard this really cool quote, and it's, I don't know who, but it's that your gifts are not your own. Um, and then I was like, oh, that's a good point. But as I looked at it, I'm like, as I give my gifts away, I get to learn from myself as well and from them. So there's this, it's just a Santa Claus bag of goodness.
Hey, there was a piece that, listening to you, this I think this is in alignment. Um, I took a job in the prisons, never having been there, but I was looking for, I wanted to understand differential diagnosis I would just become a clinician, and I wanted to find out if the adult population, if there was something in their childhood that could have made a difference. But what I that was there, and I got that. But what I didn't see coming was, um, I'm responsible to put up boundaries and walls to keep me safe, and I didn't know that with the prison system. And after 18 months, it blew me out of there, and I wasn't worth doo doo for almost another 3 or 4 years. So in that way, it, it I didn't. I went back and I got the education. I sat there and I was sober, but I don't remember you saying that I needed to create boundaries to keep me safe, because I'm going to be going into people's worlds, and that insanity that they have is going to come into your world.
Yeah.
Well, I've learned how to create those boundaries to keep all of us safe. But that was a huge lesson that, you know, it took quite some time, and to understand that, um, if you're, I had this gift in childhood too, and got a sister developmentally disabled at that year older. So I came out and ended up being the I walked, I talked, I guided, I protected, all those things, which is called parentification, which is the worst thing you can do with a kid.
Yep.
You don't want to parentify them. Your parents, you're the one supposed to do this. But my parents didn't know it. They were overwhelmed with their first daughter being developmentally disabled. And so they had a son, and wow, look what he's doing. And I ended up, when it came to addiction, I had no walls to prevent when I did that, and all those emotions that I always just thought were insane and I could handle them. You know what? I did my first drug and they were like quiet. I was like, whoa. And so there are things that, whether you're educated or not, that if you have these things, you got to recognize them in yourself, and to also know that, you're responsible for drawing your own boundaries that
Yeah.
you will live by, and you will make all others respect those boundaries. And that,
I've been arguing this with myself,
yeah,
this boundary thing, and it's what I've come up with is I don't want to set hard boundaries. Hard boundaries feel, they feel like my inability to move, basically. And so what I've come up with is ways that I respect myself. And instead of and that and I haven't quite figured this out because it's boundary oriented, but it allows me to cross my own line with intuition. So,
Careful with that one.
well, and that's the gift of, being able to, I'm not always right.
No,
Not always, but
no.
I'm also prepared for, like, there's a boundary to the outside. Like, I'm not going to go so far that I'm gonna hurt myself. It's that I can move a little bit further or closer to somebody that's struggling, that doesn't really understand how to meet me, in that halfway. So I feel like I can stretch myself by respecting myself. And if I have that in mind, that that my goal is to respect myself, then it also, and this is a theory, that it also keeps me calm. A theory, because I mean, I think it works, but I don't know if I'm just relaxed in the things that I will tolerate or not tolerate, and I'm okay to stretch that a little bit, but as soon as it feels uncomfortable, I pull it back, and I'm like, okay, that feels familiar, and then if it doesn't, I'll push a little bit further. And I almost shut this podcast down because of one person. Like,
Oh.
yeah, stalker. And they're
Okay.
trying to ruin the channel. They're trying to,
Yep, yep, yep.
discredit, say
I can
bad
relate to
things.
that one. Yep.
I mean, I had to turn off comments, and I've gotten 150, 200 emails, and it really, I was just sick of it. I don't even read this stuff. I mean, it's like, and they're in a different country, so there's not a whole lot that can be done. I mean, I, and I decided, and then I remembered, this is not about me. This is about me giving my gifts away and sharing those gifts. And then the return is what I'm going through right now. And that's my struggle, because I'm wrestling with the things that a lot of people struggle with. But for some weird reason, I have this capability to navigate the problem now, and in a way that doesn't hamster wheel me. It's like, why is that my response? Why am I in an existential crisis right now? Oh, I've been there my whole life. Oh, I'm asking the question. Okay, now we can start working on a solution. So I need to go from belief to knowing, and that is the solution. The journey in between is, now I'm on it, and I'm not flopping like a fish.
Actually, you know what? That's so very cool that you share that, because that's authentic. Everything I'm hearing, I'm not hearing any bullshit. I'm not hearing wavering, quivering. I'm like, wow, cool. Good for you. Because remember, by you being able to say what you just said, I know what I got for it, but there's people listening. And somebody, you said, the one. That's all I ever want. I'm doing it for the one. And that there, you can never be wrong in what you say if that is, you understand you, and that's what life has presented you to offer out.
Right. Yep.
And if it is, don't let anyone else tell you anything else.
And that's where we get um, stuck or tripped up. I saw this girl; she's got 300 some thousand followers, and she shared her. I think it was like a psilocybin or ketamine journey, because she has schizo
Effective.
affective,
Yeah.
and got a lot of ridicule, a lot of positivity up until she did that, and then a lot of ridicule. And it's like, they will always try to derail somebody that's trying to be honest and forthright. And because, you know what, I'll guarantee the first podcast I did to this podcast, my words have changed. Guarantee it. I'm evolving. And that's what people don't see, is people are evolving and sharing their life and their heart with you. So people that really need it, that are dying inside, have a glimmer of hope and say, somebody else did this. I mean,
And here
that's,
we are.
yeah. Yeah.
Sweet.
Well, Thomas, is there anything else you'd like to share with us, my friend?
You know
It's
what?
been great having you here.
The one piece is Honor Bound Academy was the program that I put together,
Okay.
and I wasn't able to get funded. So if you look at the book Special Welfare, Social Warfare, Adolescence to Adulthood, a guidebook, in there is the um, program. And if you go to the Honor Bound Academy, put THE in front of honorboundacademy.org, you can go in and see everything that I'm trying to do from all the various platforms that I am
Okay.
interfacing with. That's my website. It gives you my resume. It allows you to throw darts at me and make fun and do all of that, or see that somebody is trying to do what's right. As you just said, you get both in this. If you're going to take a chance, be prepared for both sides coming. And the Honor Bound Academy is where you can find me.
Yeah, and it's preparing your mind.
Yeah.
You can't avoid it. I've been fortunate so far that it hasn't been terrible, but there are people that can, it's one bad apple in a bushel can ruin the whole bushel, and that's where it gets tough, and we got to strengthen our minds and the body reaction too.
What about if it's an AI bot?
And that's the other thing. They buy these bots and destroy, and one
Yeah.
person behind the clicker.
Yeah.
But
So at this point, you know what? I'm doing what makes me feel alive,
right.
makes me do what I feel is what I'm meant to do.
Yeah.
And if you got issue with that, all right.
Well, I
You know
think that's
what?
what we're supposed to do. I think we're supposed to take the risk and do what we're meant to do.
Or
It's not
not
all
living.
about money. Yeah.
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 Cool.
I have this journey coming up, and this girl was like, "You're going to go do that, but you live in a car." And I'm like, "Yeah, I'd rather go do that.
Yeah.
Like, I would rather go do that
Yeah.
than live in a house for 2 months."
Yes. Yeah. 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 Yeah.
And we go back to that rite of passage. That's actually what this is for me. Um, I grew up about a year ago, from what I can tell. I became a
And hey,
man.
Joseph Campbell had the saying, follow
Yeah.
your bliss.
That's
Follow your bliss.
heroes. Is
Yeah.
that the hero's journey?
He,
Yeah.
yeah.
Finding Joe.
Joseph Campbell was awesome. And he said, for all, just follow your bliss,
Yes.
whatever that is for you. And you will find doors open to you that won't open to anyone else. You will find yourself in places that you would have never gone had you not.
It is
So
so
follow
true.
your bliss.
It is so true. So in the hero's journey, I just watched it recently. I've known about it for a while, but I was like, I'll wait until the time is right. So I watched it the other day, about a week and a half ago, and it goes through the whole circle, and I'm right between the two, the middle and the end. And I call this the sweet spot. This is where epiphanies happen. It's where realization happens, where suffering happens, but you get to ask the questions. But what's on the horizon is you find something there. And the problem with finding that is that you got to start over in a different area. And it's like, the cycle, but there's this beautiful, I'm in that sweet spot of really hard, but so much more beautiful than, I don't know if that's a good sentence, than life itself. It brings this thing, it changes the whole DNA of the things that are coming when you go from this very, very dark place to this place that has no hold, that it can't live there anymore.
So true. And that takes courage.
It's easy to ring the bell, isn't it?
Yeah. And you know what? There's a world full of people who are ringing the bell. I am just not one of them.
Yeah. Well,
No.
they haven't rung the bell yet. I just gotta help them keep moving, team it up.
And you know what? I am in absolute belief that as dark as it is, there's an equal opportunity in that darkness, and I am that kind of believer.
Yeah. Oh, I'm absolutely. I mean, I've lived in darkness my whole life, and now I'm that light. I'm a light in that darkness, and I walk there well. I know the path really well.
How cool!
Yeah.
That's how cool that you can say that.
I know. Thank God. Thank God I can say it still. But well, Thomas, thank you, man, for being here. It's been such a pleasure to speak with you.
Absolutely, because it's been this is one of those ones that was a spiritual movement. I had no idea where we'd go, and thank you for taking me.
Yeah, you bet, buddy.
All
this
right.
was awesome.
Very
Thanks for being
soon.
on the Suicide Monk, and we'll see you on the good side.